this. Hey, Dean Yeager.
Friday night I crashed your party. Saturday I said I'm sorry. Sunday came and trashed me out again. I was only having fun, wasn't hurting.
It's time to talk. You know where you're at. And we're going to do kind of Joker here. Kind of segue into where we're going. We did a top 4 Batman.
Right.
As far as who portrayed him as a live actor or voice actor. So we decided to do, one of his more iconic villains is the Joker. And we got, several to pick from, and I think it's going to be tough to rate it from 4 to 1. But we decided, we did Batman. Let's do the Joker.
Yeah.
So let's dive right into it. Your number 4?
Well, I want to give a quick shout out to one that I don't think made either one of our lists, but I think we need to mention. It's an honorable mention. Jared Leto.
No, we're not honoring Jared Leto. Nothing against the actor. He's a gifted actor, but I don't like Gangster Joker. I don't like it with the gold teeth and the tattoos.
Right.
The tattoos didn't really bother me. I thought it kind of portrayed his, character, but no, I'm sorry. Now I'll give an honorable mention to Cesar Romero, who was the Joker in the animated, or not the animated, the 60s series and the movie. Cesar Romero was a very good Joker. It just, anybody that's portrayed the Joker besides some of the voice actors and some of the animated films, there have been iconic portrayals of the Joker. So this was tough. Cesar Romero just quite didn't make it.
Well, I think as kids, I would imagine you probably could confess this as much as I can. Before I knew any Joker outside the comics, I knew
Cesar Romero.
Cesar Romero.
I think it's funny too that he refused to shave his beard, so they had to put the makeup over his beard.
Yeah.
And if you look closely, you can see it. But anyway.
But okay, so number 4, I'm going to go with voice actor Mark Hamill as Batman animated series, the voice of the Joker.
Well, this kind of matches up because didn't you have Conroy as your number 4?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Mark Hamill is the voice of Joker. Just Kevin Conroy. If Kevin Conroy is doing Batman, you always want to see if Mark Hamill's doing the Joker.
Right.
So no, I definitely agree with that. I have a little bit higher, but yeah, I no argument here. I think our top 4 is the same. I think the order is going to be a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess it's mine. My number 4, and this is tough because it was very iconic. It's just, I don't see how it matches or will ever match up if you try to throw Batman in the film. It's Joaquin Phoenix.
Right.
He did amazing. And it's hard to say that it is number 4. It just doesn't, it's so dark though. I just don't see how you can put Batman in it. They'll never do an R-rated Batman movie. So they'll never be able to tie it in. It's a standalone Joker film, which is what it's meant to be. I know there's rumors out there that there might be a sequel. But it's just hard to say it would match up. But again, that's as close as you're going to get. That's pretty darn close. There's not a definitive backstory in any of the comic books. You get bits and pieces here. But that is, the tone of the film is almost spot on.
That leads into my number 3, which is
Phoenix.
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix. You're talking about a film that isn't so much about the Joker as it is about a man with mental illness.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Who takes on a clown Joker persona to commit barbaric, horrific acts later in the film.
Well, it kind of paints him out, honestly, a little bit like he's the victim.
Yeah, sympathetic. Yeah.
You had those guys on the subway, again, spoiler alert, that they're picking on him,
right,
and he's kind of defending himself. Did he go a little too extreme? Obviously. But yeah, that's kind of why it was my number 4, and I totally respect he's your number 3. It's you know, like you said, it's not really about the Joker.
No.
It's about a guy who's dealing with mental deficiencies. Yes, does he kind of morph into the Joker? Obviously, yes. And
Yeah.
I love that scene after, at the end he's on the car and everybody's around him and then he does the smiley face with it.
Right.
That's iconic. But like I said, it's just hard to have him so high on the list because I just don't see that character transferring into a Batman film.
And I can understand. It's almost two films in one,
Yeah.
really.
You know.
That's my number 3.
Okay, cool. My number 3 is your number 4 was Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill.
Because obviously Kevin Conroy was high on my list. Like I said, if you see Kevin Conroy, you better see Mark Hamill on it.
Yeah.
I mean, he did, like I said, the animated series. He's done movies. He did the video games. He's got the laugh. He's got everything. The Killing Joke. That was great. I mean, he was going to retire the character, and they said, "What would we do to come back?" He said, "We do the Killing Joke," and he did it, and it was great. That's one of the great animated Batman movies ever, in my opinion. So yeah, I had Mark Hamill is he is the Joker. Kevin Conroy is the voice of Batman. Mark Hamill's the voice of Joker, and we're talking about Luke Skywalker here.
Right.
Which one's more iconic? I mean, you're going to have your Star Wars fans say it's Luke Skywalker, and that's a good, fair argument.
Right.
And then you're, like me, a big Batman fan. He's the voice of the Joker.
I haven't seen as many of the animated feature film Warner Brother feature films as you have.
And I know you didn't play the games either. So.
Right. So, but I'm very aware of his notoriety, his celebrity.
Yeah.
His,
it's great.
I guess that would lead to my number 2, and this was very difficult for me. But it came down to a matter of portrayal, performance, and even though I was never have been a big DC guy, Batman guy, Joker guy, I still have to adhere some to the source material, and that's why, a very fine line, I have to go with Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson.
As the Joker in the 1989 Batman film. I was 8 years old, stood in line at Fort City 14 in Chicago. I still remember this.
Oh, I like I said, I know our lists are the same. The order's just going to be different, and it's no different here. I concur. I agree. He's spoiler alert, he's a little higher, but his performance, his portrayal was great, and it's a great. He fit into that Batman movie, so it fit like a glove. You didn't have to worry about toning him down or bringing him out. The 89 film is a dark tone Batman film. It's great. And that's why, again, I can overlook some of the source material lapses because the tone was right.
Yeah.
And if you get the tone right and you got great actors playing it, you can kind of overlook that, in my opinion. And I am a big Batman fan, so I know believe me, I know all the things that are wrong with the 1989 Batman.
Right, yeah, Napier wasn't...
He didn't kill Bruce Wayne's parents.
Right.
That, even as a kid, when I first saw that, I'm saying, wait a minute. Did I read something wrong? I went back into the comic books to see if I had read something wrong.
Jack Frost or something. I don't remember if that was a guy's name who supposedly killed. I don't know.
That is, it always seemed like, gosh, it's been so long since I've read comic books.
I
To me, it always seemed like it was something different. When he would flash back, it always seemed like it was somebody different. But I think you're right. I think you are. But it's been a long time since I've read comic books.
But Nicholson was a huge draw.
Oh my gosh.
He was Jack Nicholson. He was in the 80s. He had come off all the films he had done previous. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Easy Rider,
The Shining.
The Shining, and so he was a definite box office. He was gold.
Well, he
People
was
knew.
the top billing. He was over Michael Keaton.
He was over Michael
And
Keaton.
that didn't happen again until Batman and Robin. But we're not talking about Batman and Robin. But no, I concur. So I guess my number 2 is going to segue right into your number 1 is Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
And again, this was tough because these two were very close. But I had to go with, obviously, what my favorites were. Heath Ledger was great. And I remember when they announced Heath Ledger playing the Joker, I had friends, not going to mention their names, they were like, this isn't going to work, it's going to suck. Because they weren't huge fans of Batman Begins. They weren't, because not a lot of people are familiar with the origin story. And then again, Nolan changed it but it was still close. They're like, it's not going to work. This is going to be a terrible franchise, blah, blah, blah. Then you see that first trailer, and he says that line, and it just hooked. And it was perfect. And it's tragically, Heath Ledger's not with us anymore. He would have been in the third one. Nolan's gone on record in saying that.
Right.
And that would have been huge because that, yeah, like I said, it's almost like it's 1B for me. 1A and 1B.
I'd have to, I'd have to go with that almost too myself. I'd have to,
Because that's, you know.
Because I did grow up on Nicholson's Joker. The reason Ledger would be my number one is because of the, probably, again, getting closer to the source material. And as you mentioned earlier, Nicholson fit Burton's vision of that Batman universe. And just as, Nolan wanted a more realistic, that's why Leto would never have worked.
No.
Doesn't really work to begin with, but he would never have worked in a Nolan universe Batman film.
And I know this kind of defeats my number one, but I think you could put Ledger in 1989 and it'd still be good.
Yeah.
I don't think the same would be for the flip side of it, but it would be an interesting thing to see.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's hard. It was hard to go 2 and 1 here, but yeah, Heath Ledger's my number 2. He's your number 1. My number 1 obviously is Jack Nicholson. He was the Joker, always will be the Joker. I mean, he was just great. I mean, he was playing he was digging in a little bit to the, when Joker was starting to go back to being dark. Because in the 50s and the early 60s, he was this jokester and, wasn't very physical. But he started to go back to his dark roots when the 70s came around. And he was flirting with that. Stayed in the 60s, I think. A little more serious than Cesar Romero's Joker.
Oh, yeah.
But he fit the tone of the film to a T. Was a great antagonist to Michael Keaton. And again, like you said, he fit Tim Burton's vision. Yes, he did not kill Bruce Wayne's parents. I understand that. But, his Jack Napier was a well put together guy. Yeah. Number 2 in I guess you'd say this gang. And
led by Jack Palance.
Yes, which was great as well.
Yeah.
That's kind of true that he fell in a vat of, chemicals and it altered his face.
Right.
And that's how he got the Joker. I love that scene where, he's talking in the dark, you don't see him. And he said, Jack, we can cut a deal. And he's like, Jack is dead. And then he takes the hat off. You call me Joker.
Yeah.
That was the best right there. And then the whole dancing and stuff, that goes back to the 50s. But no, just everything. The tone of the film, everything. He was a great heel. And it sucks that he killed him off, in the first one. Because he could have done a lot more. That would have been epic if he'd have popped in for even 10 minutes in the second one with the Penguin. That would have been epic,
They weren't, of course, we know that they weren't thinking about franchise in continuity sense back
Tim
then.
Burton has gone on record to say that Batman and Batman Returns is not sequel. They're not attached. They're different films. And he's just saying that because he doesn't want to. He's saying I've never done a sequel.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's a sequel, okay?
Just as much as we could talk about the Nolan Batman films franchise, we could talk about the Burton. There's so much to plumb from everything they did in those films. Not just Nicholson or even Michael Keaton or Ledger and
Phoenix.
Christian Bale. Yeah. And so there's just a lot to it. But as far as getting back just to the Joker, you're talking about a character who's up there villainy-wise with Darth Vader. When you think about villains, you think about fictitious villains, you think about Darth Vader, you think about the Joker. Those are the first ones that come to mind.
Yeah. I mean, and I know there's a whole other side to think about this if you're a Marvel fan, but if you're thinking of Batman villains, I mean, yeah, he has some iconic ones, and Nolan made some more even iconicer, and some of their betrayals, and but it's always the Joker. Oh. The Joker is always and I know you never played the game, but the second game in this Arkham franchise is called Arkham City. At the end of it, he can save Joker's life by giving him this serum to save his life. And Joker, I guess, thinks he's not going to do it. He stabs him in the arm and he drops it and it breaks. And he gave this speech before that happened. He says, I save you, and you end up getting out and you hurt more people, you kill more people, and why do we go through the cycle? So that's when the Joker stabs him. Well, at the end, he says, you want to know something funny? I still would have saved you. That's what Kevin Conroy said to Mark Hamill. That's just, yeah, I mean, that's a little movie mode in the game, which was iconic in itself. But
Yeah,
like we said, Joker is always antagonist. You can't do a top 4 on Mr. Freeze. You can't do a top 4 on Penguin or the Riddler. It's the Joker. That hands down, it's the Joker.
And as much, and I know this is almost heresy against the Marvel universe, but as much as I love Marvel, I can't sit here and say, to be honest with you, I mean, to be completely bluntly honest, I can't sit here and say, oh, there's this guy in the Marvel universe that stacks up with the Joker in as far as fame.
Nah.
You can't, even the Green Goblin, even Spider-Man's greatest villain, the Green Goblin, you can't say that.
You can't say that unless William Dafoe's playing him.
Well, that's different. Avenge me.
No, as big as Marvel, especially Marvel Studios, and we plan on starting a video on the Marvel Studios from 2003 to 2019, they will never have thoroughbreds like Batman, Superman, and the Joker. They'll never have that.
That's true.
And
I have to admit
as
that.
long as DC has that, they shouldn't have to worry about anything. But again, that's a whole other topic. There's your top 4 Jokers. We finally got to do the villain side of Batman. Maybe we'll do a different thing with Batman. Let us know what your list is, or if there's somebody we missed out there. And give us some ideas if you want us to do a top 4 villains, the other villains for Batman. We could do that. Just give us some ideas.
Tracy Walter played his backup in the Batman 89.
Yeah.
Bob the Goon, man.
Bob Gunn. But anyway, thanks for stopping by. See you later.
Bye.